I'm already a millionaire in my mind. I may not see it yet, but I believe it now. In the same way a seed is called by its finished form, I'm accepting my divine inheritance as a child of God. I'm meant to have life and have it more abundantly. My treasure on earth shall correspond directly to the treasure in the heaven of my mind. Abundance is my birthright. Ashe, amen, and so it is. My name is Jullien Gordon, and I'm author of Rich and Righteous: Spiritual Secrets to Mastering Money, Manifestation, and Your Mind. After becoming a multimillionaire through real estate investing, I was moved by God at the beginning of the pandemic to share my money mindset that allowed me to quit my job in January of 2009 at the bottom of the last recession and achieve full financial freedom. I own my mental real estate before I own any physical real estate. This book is like some of your favorites: Rich Dad, Poor Dad, As a Man Thinketh, Think and Grow Rich, and the Bible all in one. But the divine downloads and thoughts that are in here are 100% original and came to me over a 6-month period at the beginning of the pandemic. This book is normally $100 on Amazon if you went there right now, but I want to give you access to it for free by inviting you to our next reading group. Yes, the reading group is 100% free. Every weekday for 100 days straight, I'll be reading and discussing the 10 money commandments in the book that make money come to you in your life easily, more frequently, and abundantly. And it will take about 30 to 45 minutes as we read 3 to 5 pages per day until we finish the book and reprogram your mind around money. Why 100 days? Well, if you are 30 years old, you've lived for 10,950 days. And we have to deprogram and reprogram the negative, scarcity-based money mindset society has taught you. And I believe I can do that in just 1% of the time in about 100 days. I'm done with shelf help. You know, when you buy a book to change your life, but you never read it, it just sits on your bookshelf and collects a whole bunch of dust. We off that. When is the last time you had an author actually read their book to you out loud because they cared about you getting the information in your soul? I'm not just here to get this book in your hands. More importantly, I want to get it in your head and your heart, because that's where the real transformation occurs, in the conscious and the subconscious mind. As scripture says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. This is not the type of book that you just read once. To renew the subconscious mind requires repetition over and over and over. So if you joined us last time, I encourage you to join us again. I myself have read this book over 10 times already. So click the link to join our next reading group, and when you sign up, I'm going to give you the first 2 chapters of the book for absolutely free on what is money and abundance is your birthright, so that you can start your journey to a more abundant life today. Rich Rising. Welcome to another day of Read Rich and Righteous. We're reading Rich and Righteous: Spiritual Secrets to Mastering Money, Manifestation, in Your Mind. We are officially in week 13. We only have 2 more weeks left in this 100-day journey. It has been absolutely amazing. We are still in Money Commandment number 8 on how the rich and righteous manifest money. And today we'll be talking about the title, Nobody to Blame, Including You. Nobody to blame. Now, in this financial philosophy, we take full responsibility for our lives, but what we're releasing is any shame and blame that we have towards ourselves, right? So that we can open up the gateway to move forward. Remember, shame is something that holds us in the past and then actually projects forward into our future. And so today we're going to be forgiving ourselves. Today is day 62 of this journey. We only actually have 10 days of weekday readings left, and then of course we have our Rich and Righteous graduation on the final Saturday. That'll be December 9th. You can go to rrgraduation.com to sign up for that. We will be live in Atlanta for graduation. We have space for 150 people. It's absolutely free. We'll be reading the final chapter. There'll be test of monies, and not testimonies, test of monies, people sharing their experience and the breakthroughs that they've had. This is your way to pour back into me, to really explain to me how this work has taken root in your mind and in your life. We will also be doing networking, and I'll be doing a book signing for the folks that are in Atlanta. Everybody who comes to the in-person event will be getting my bank account, which is my 91-day gratitude journal and program. So you'll be getting that as a gift for just coming through and pulling up. And for everybody else, you will be attending via live stream. All right. Now, if you're just joining us for the first time, you may be quote unquote late to the game, but you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Right. This is divine timing. And if you want to tap into our community, you can go to richrightnow.com, richrightnow.com. That will get you locked in for the rest of the challenge. And then on the thank you page, you can get the ebook or a physical copy of the book. And with those purchases, you get all of the replays that you may have missed. This has been an absolutely amazing journey. We've been reprogramming our mind around money. Money is going to be in our life forever, and so we want to have the highest and best relationship with money so that it can circulate to us and through us as much as possible during this lifetime. All right, so with that, I want to jump right into today's reading. We are on page 333. So everybody type I got it when you got it. I got it. I space lowercase God space IT. And last week we explored the difference between I got it, right, which is manpower, and I got it. And we have to know the distinction, because faith without works is dead. Faith is knowing when to let God do its thing, right? And then works is where you have to do your thing. And we also got clear on what our work is when it comes to manifestation. It's not a long to-do list item. It's really about the mental conditioning to make sure that we are an environment that God actually wants to dwell in. God does dwell in us. Our body is the temple, but we want to allow God to express freely and easily through us and frequently. All right. So I see folks are ready. I see folks with their consistency score in the 60s, which is absolutely amazing. It means that you've been consistent for 12 full weeks, and now we're in week 13 and going into week 14 to close us out. All right. So let's get into today's reading right now. And the scripture for the day is Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. And, a lot of this book is really about getting in tune with your life purpose. Because if you seek ye first the kingdom of God, right, and you're walking in your purpose, then all these things, all these financial things, the things that you want, the things that were on your individual selfish vision board, all these things shall be added unto you. And so there's a sequence to success, and walking in our purpose just means being in alignment with the God in our daily, not only our professional work, but also in our decision making in our personal lives. All right. So top of 333. You are not a product of your environment. As children of God, we are God's, lowercase g, right? Lowercase g. As the children of God, we are God's. Jesus said this in John 10:34. Is it not written in your law? I have said ye are God's. There's a lot of people who have been indoctrinated religiously and say, I'm not a God. I'm not a God. I'm a sinner. And they'll fight for that identity. But Jesus himself says in John 10:34, is it not written in your law? I have said ye are God's. As children of God, we are God's. Lowercase g, though. The only difference between us and God is magnitude. Okay. The only difference between us and God is magnitude. So if we look at the ocean, right, we are a drop in that ocean, but the drop has every element of the ocean. The only difference is magnitude. Okay. So we are God's and have the power to create environments. And a lot of this teaching has been about how do we create like God, and God is a master, the master manifester, right? The master creator. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to learn how our mother, father, God creates and just mimic the mother, father, God, right? So we are God's and have the power to create environments. In Genesis 1 and the creation story, right? What does God do? God creates environments. And out of those environments, what happens? Things manifest, things come up, right? But when we come through the womb as human beings, we forget that we are God's. Then we get programmed with buggy thinking, and the rest of our journey called life is just a chance to remember who we are and create or choose our experience. One of my favorite types of books growing up was the Encyclopedia Brown, where you could choose your own adventure, right? It says, if you want to do this, go to page 333. If you want to do this, go to page 251. I used to love those books, and we're actually living that out in our daily life, okay? In this philosophy, we take 100% responsibility for our lives. This is not to say that there are no negative external influences that have affected you, nor is this placing 100% blame on you. Instead, we release the past through the power of forgiveness of ourselves and others and move forward knowing that no individual or institution or past experience or current circumstances has more power over you than you do unless you allow it to. Right? I always conclude, be God to yourself. No individual, institution, or outside situation has more power over the trajectory of your life than you do. Right? So regardless of what happened in the past, regardless of what's in the rearview mirror, right, it does not affect my future. Right? it may affect my future, but it is not the greatest factor in regards to my future. It may affect my future, but it is not the greatest factor in terms of my future, right? So no blame is allowed in financial spirituality. No blame is allowed in financial spirituality. When you blame anyone or anything outside of yourself, you give it power over you. You cannot manifest when you are looking to another man to change your life. And by man, I don't mean gender. I'm talking about another individual, okay? You cannot manifest when you are looking to another man to change your life. You are saying that in order for me to experience heaven on earth, I need you to change. That is a position of weakness, and you may find yourself waiting for a mighty long time. Okay, so we don't need to wait for individuals or institutions or even situations, right, outside of ourselves to change. We have to be the change that we want to see. People in power usually don't give up power willingly, but another person only has power over you because you don't recognize the power in yourself. For a long time, the rallying call has been power to the people, power to the people, power to the people, right? I know when I was a student at UCLA and we would do marches, I was like, something hit me. I was like, this is not effective. This is actually not the truth, right? We're going to the chancellor's office. We're marching in this rally, right? Trying to ask some individual or institution to change on our behalf. And it changed for me. Like, I stopped going because I was seeing that this was not the most effective way or empowering way. Sometimes marches work and they start to influence culture, and the decision maker ultimately changes, right? But it is not the most powerful way to create change. So for a long time, the rallying call has been power to the people, suggesting that the power is where? If we're saying power, remember, our language is so key. Last week we said, I don't work for a company. I work what? With a company. That one word change has impact in terms of how our mind actually works, right? Now, when we say power to the people, what are we suggesting? What is implied in that word choice? It is implying that the power is outside of the people and that somebody has to give the people power. The new rallying call must be power in the people, power in the people, power in the people. We don't have to go march somewhere to some building or to some person, right? We can literally just sit in a circle and march in a circle amongst ourselves and remind ourselves, power in you. Power, there's power in you. There's power in you. There is power in you. Man, there is power in us together. Okay? We don't need somebody, right, or something outside of ourselves to change. We can be that change right here and right now when we all tap into our power. One of my favorite cartoons of all time was Captain Planet, right? When our powers combine, I am Captain Planet, right? And we know scripture, whenever two or more are gathered, and we know that's not just human beings. We know that's when the conscious and subconscious combine as well on a metaphysical level. But our powers combine. I am Captain Planet. When we come together, we create something more powerful that can actually affect change. So the new rally call must be power in the people, power in the people, power in the people. What if us marching was just us holding up mirrors to each other? Power in the people, power in the people, power in the people. Then you flip that mirror to yourself. There's power in me. There's power in me. There's power in me. God gave me power. That's the new march. That's literally what an affirmation is in the morning. You're reminding yourself that power is in you. It is not outside of you. It is in you. The greatest currency in the world is the God-given power, right? The energy and the breath that is flowing through your body. That is the greatest currency on the face of this earth. The focus is not the people in power. It is power in the people. From this place, you don't ask anyone outside of yourself for anything. There is nobody to march against, be angry at, or demand something from outside of yourself. The reason those people are in power, right, is because they didn't ask for permission. They just stood in their power. Now, many times people in power when it comes to just the flesh and the physical, they think they need to hoard power because they feel actually weak. So they need to hold other people down to lift them up. And that is not sustainable, and that is not living in righteousness, right? We can all be powerful. No human being has power over how you feel unless you give it to them. If someone else can say or do something to you and get you to react, you have allowed them to be cause in your life, right? Oftentimes I say, like, nobody can make me feel happy. Happiness is within me, and I can be in a relationship where the environment actually draws out, right, the happiness that is within me, but nobody can make me happy. Nobody can make you happy. Some of you are waiting for somebody to make you happy. No, happiness has to be a seed that is already within you, and you can co-create an environment with someone, a relationship with someone that actually causes the happiness in both of you to express. Just like genes, some genes express, like we have I think we have every gene in our body, right? But not all the genes are expressed. The genes get expressed based on the internal and external conditions, right? The internal and external environment. And so happiness must be within you already, and you can be in an environment, in a relationship, right, that actually causes the happiness to express. So do not give over the power of your feelings to somebody else. You're giving them too much power. Because now if the relationship is over, all of a sudden what? You're no longer happy? They took the happiness with them? No, it's just no longer expressing inside of you because the environment has changed. And the healthiest relationships are when you are already happy. You're not getting into a codependent relationship for someone to make you happy, right? It is when you are actually happy, and therefore you attract someone else who's also happy, and you have more happiness together. There's more expressions of happiness together. Are you understanding? Are you understanding? Okay. So genes express or not express in the same way feelings express, right? Are y'all with me? Everybody type, nobody can make me happy. That's giving somebody too much power. Nobody can make me happy. Happiness is within me, and I must create the conditions internally and externally for it to express as much as possible. All right? If someone else can say or do something to get you to react, right, or to have a feeling or emote, you have allowed them to be cause in your life. You have become reactionary, not revolutionary. See, a lot of times when we look back at the 60s, that was a lot of reaction. Oh, the white man did this, and so now let's go march. Let's go do this. That's reactionary. Okay, now they do that. Now we over here marching. And then they do that. Now we over here marching. Then there's police brutality over here. Now we over here marching. And you just spend your entire life reacting, just reacting to what is happening around you. That's not revolutionary. That's reactionary. Okay? You have become reactionary, not revolutionary. If someone can press your button like a video game and control you, you are either a thermostat or a thermometer. You are either a thermostat or a thermometer. A thermometer takes the temperature of an environment, while the thermostat sets the temperature of an environment. A thermometer, right, when you put it in your mouth, right, is it 98.6, right, when you were sick? That's the thermometer. It takes the temperature of the environment inside of you, right? A thermostat actually dictates the environment. So we actually want to be thermostats. That's what we have the power to do. We have the power to change the environment. Those with the victim mentality blame the external environment for how they feel. Those with a victor mentality create the environment they want to feel. Say, I'm a victor. I am a victor. I am a victor. Not a victim. I'm a victor. Okay? You are more powerful than you know. If the environment you're in is not a vibrational match for who you are and want to be, do not blame the environment. If that job, right, is not a vibrational match for you, do not blame the job. That is not the job's responsibility. Where on the dotted line did it say that this job is going to make you happy, that this job is going to give you meaning, that this job is going to be fulfilling? Nowhere did they promise that to you. So why do you have that as an expectation of them? Now, of course, professional environments where you have a deep sense of meaning, where you are paid what you're worth, etc., those are great, and the retention rates and the production of those teams is absolutely amazing. But nowhere did they promise you that. So how can you have the expectation that that job is supposed to make you happy or make you feel good or see your self-worth? Right? Nowhere did they promise you that. Okay? So You are more powerful than you know. If the environment you're in is not a vibrational match for who you know you are and want to be, don't blame the environment. Okay, so this applies to your home life. This applies to a romantic relationship you may be in. This applies to your career. This applies to the collective global environment, right? We don't blame the environment. Change your frequency just like you change the radio station, or in the same way you change the thermostat, right? And you will begin to access a new experience. There are radio frequencies flowing by us that we can't see right now. And when you tune in to a different radio, you don't like the radio station that you're on, what do? You literally just change the dial. You tune into another frequency until you find something that you want. That's it. You don't blame the radio for playing what it's playing. You change your frequency. There are people who like that frequency, and there's no judgment because obviously you are on the same frequency. So if you judge them, then guess what? You're judging yourself. If you judge them, then you're judging yourself, right? As your frequency rises, anything beneath you will fall off. You get to choose your emotions rather than be controlled by them. Before you leave home, choose the emotion you want to vibrate and radiate, and keep your mentality stationed like a radio on that channel all day long. So rather than going out into the day, right, and seeing what happens and seeing how the day makes you feel, I want you to think differently. I want you to declare before you leave home, before you even get out of your bed with your morning meditation, this is how I want to feel and what I want to radiate today. I'm going to be the change. I'm going to bring my joy everywhere with me. My good friend D1, he has a song said, "My joy is my weapon," right? I take my joy with me into every environment, into the grocery store, on the subway, into my office, into the coffee shop, on that call, in that meeting. I bring my joy with me. I don't wait for the day to give me what it wants to give me. I give it what I desire to see in my life. Okay? Now, again, we're not out here trying to make people happy, right? We are just living in the happiness that we desire. And what does that tend to do? It tends to shape their environment. So happiness, now that gene of happiness gets expressed in their life, and all of a sudden they're happy. You smile, they smile, right? You see, are you seeing how it's working? So we are going to declare before we leave home what we're going to vibrate at and how we're going to radiate. Don't let the day dictate how you feel. Instead, embody that emotion and make the day feel you. Everybody type that. Make the day feel you. Make the day feel you. A lot of people bring in yesterday into today. Yesterday was a bad day, and so now they wake up sulking and they take that energy into the next day. And so what does that create? It creates another bad day. We are born again every single day. You think you were just born again when you dip your head in some water through baptism? No, you are born again every single day. You have no clue where you go when you're asleep. Where does your spirit go when you are asleep? You think it's just staying here in the body? Where do you go when you're asleep? You are born again every single day. And there's some people who are not born again. There's some people who don't wake up out of their sleep. And there will come a day where you don't wake up out of your sleep, where you are not born again. So you get to choose right then and there in the moment when you awake. And rather than awaking through the womb, you're waking with your head on your pillow. And you're awaking with the ability of your conscious mind to choose. When you're born the first time in flesh, you aren't consciously choosing as a baby. Your mind isn't developed yet. But as an adult, you are born again and you get to choose. You could literally change your identity today if you decided to. You have that power through the power of I am. You can say, I'm no longer this. I'm no longer a lawyer as of today. I'm no longer sad as of today. I'm no longer broke as of today. You get to change your identity right now if you choose to. Or you can keep perpetuating the identity that you've held on to, and therefore you will get the same results. You create a good day rather than hope for one. The energy you give out, so shall you receive. You set the tone. Top of page 335. As master manifestors, deliberate creators, and little gods, let's stand in our God-given power and see every perceived challenge as a chance to ascend to a higher level. If God be for you, who can be against you? If God be for you, who can be against you except you? If God be for you, who can be against you except you? Imagine that you chose this adventure in the heavenly realm like a video game before you came to earth. What if before you got here, you created an on-earth obstacle course for yourself to challenge you in a good way, to manifest things from within you, and you only made the pits of life as deep as they are and the mountains of life as high as they are to remind you and draw out your strengths within, because you knew that when you came through the womb, you would forget that you created this obstacle course. Okay? What if you plan this entire itinerary? People willingly sign up to do challenging things in life all the time, whether it be an Ironman triathlon, a Tough Mudder course, entrepreneurship, 40-day fast, or some other lofty goal. Why? They do these things to facilitate their growth. There are easier alternatives to each of those paths, but the individual doesn't want easy and average because they desire excellence and ascension. Say, I desire excellence and ascension. I desire excellence and ascension. What if you created this obstacle course called life in the spiritual realm, and you knew that when you came into the womb, you would forget that you created the obstacle course, and you made this obstacle course difficult because you wanted to test your strength? Now, whether that is true or not, that mindset and philosophy has helped me navigate the challenges of life with so much power because I know that they are here for my growth. As opposed to life working against me, I know that it is working for me, and scripture says all things are working together for my good. So what if I created these challenges in my life for my goodness? Not only was I the intentional designer, nobody is doing this against me. There is no evil entity that is putting these pitfalls in my way or these mountains in my way. I put that there to test my strength. I knew that that mountain had to be 3,000 feet high because I already passed 2,000 feet. That was easy. I had to add more weight on. I had to increase the challenge to increase my strength, to increase my growth. I made that pit that deep because I already climbed out of a 10-foot hole, right? Now I want to climb out of a 15-foot hole to see who I am. What if you design this entire itinerary and plan? Again, we do it in life all the time. Triathlons. Why would you run a triathlon? Only to push and grow yourself. Why would you do entrepreneurship? Only to push and grow yourself. Are you understanding this? This has been just a helpful philosophy for me. And especially for the black folk out there, when you think about martial arts, what is the lowest belt in martial arts? It's the white belt. And what is the highest level, hardest belt to achieve in martial arts? It's the black belt. So you, in this black experience, are not at the lowest level, right? Which is what they tell us. You are actually at the highest level. You are not at the lowest level, family. The white belt is at the lowest level. That's the easiest level. You are at the highest level. But the world will flip, right? When it's a mirror, it'll flip and it'll tell you that you are at the lowest level. This is why you're having all the challenges that you're having. No, you're having all the challenges that you're having because you're at the highest level, not the lowest. Page 335. Second paragraph. In Genesis 50:20, Jacob told his brothers, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it all for good. He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many people." The problem you have may be the problem you are called to solve. The biggest challenge in your life may be the exact challenge that you are here to help other people get over. You're dealing with addiction? Guess what? You may actually be here to go through that process, to overcome it, to be the victor, so that you can help everybody who's been victimized by addiction. You've been through divorce and you found love. Guess what? Now you can actually help other people who've been through divorce heal from that, forgive, and position themselves to find new love and do it better and be better the second time around. You have a child who has a learning disorder. You going through that challenge now puts you in position to help others who are dealing with the same thing. You're having health issues. right? You're having skincare issues and you're trying all these different remedies and you found something that has worked for you. You now can empower other people who are dealing with the same thing, right? You have self-esteem issues, or you had self-esteem issues. It was in your past now, and now you are confident in who you are, right? You've been able to reduce your weight and change your entire image. You are absolutely unrecognizable now, not only in the physical, but also energetically. And now you can help other people who are where you were get from point A to point B. Okay? So the problem you have had, may be the problem you are called to solve. If you were born a foster youth, you are not unwanted. That's like that was likely so you could demonstrate self-love at the highest level. If you were born a foster youth, you are not unwanted. You may have chose that experience. You may have put in that video game cartridge so that you could demonstrate self-love at the highest level. So how do you demonstrate self-love? You actually put yourself in a position where you have no love. You put yourself in a position where you have no love. How do you demonstrate that you are abundant? You put yourself in a position where you were born into poverty, where you had nothing. One of my good friends was a foster youth, and now he's in a very happy long-term marriage, right? I think over 10 years now. So he is an amazing demonstration of first self-love and then being able to attract divine love, divine union, right? It's a really, really powerful thing when you look at his life experience and his relationship to love and how that shifted. Some people say, oh, you haven't experienced love. You weren't born into love. Foster youth have issues being in love. Not for him. And now he can take that journey and that message and share it with other people, right? If you were born into poverty, you are not poor. That was likely so you could show how rich you really are. If you were born with a physical disability, you are not disabled. That was likely so you could exercise the power of your mind. Remember Stephen Hawking, right? I think it was Lou Gehrig's disease. Stephen Hawking, because his body was losing its vitality and its ability to function, he just had to sit there and be still. And sitting in that wheelchair allowed him to think and contemplate larger concepts that somebody who was always on the go, so always moving around, going to the grocery store, going to the bank, doing all these things, they're too busy to sit still and think about these higher questions regarding life. But because of his physical disability, right, it caused him to be still and gave him the time to contemplate some bigger questions in life. And this is what has allowed him to draw out his brilliance, right? So, like I said, if you were born black in America, you were a black belt, and that is the highest level belt in karate. That was likely to show that if you take away the reason you may have been born into this black experience, okay, was to show that if you take away my family, my land, my wealth, my history, my language, and spirituality, and my ability to control my body, I still rise. That's the hardest level. You think about, so you were like, God, you know what? I'm ready to go back and play again. Take away this, and this. Take all that away and put me in. And let's see how I do. Okay? As Jay-Z articulated it best when he said, now add that number up with the one I said before. You are now looking at one smart black boy. Mama ain't raised no fool. Put me anywhere on God's green earth and I'll triple my worth. There's only one rule. I will not lose. See, if this line of thinking serves you and helps you reconcile your past and the future challenges ahead, right? See if this line of thinking serves you and helps you reconcile your past and the future challenges ahead. See if, just try it on and say, you know what? All these challenges I'm facing, what if I put them here for my growth? Because all things are working together for my good, and this is making me stronger. If I was just going through life with no challenges, one, that would be boring, and then two, I would get weak. And so this is actually to show me how strong I am. Me not having that at first is actually revealing that it was already within me the entire time, right? Do I want my children to be born into wealth, into riches, and to have those things right out the gate so they have momentum? Yes. But that was not my journey. That's not the game that I chose. They're going to have a different game to play because now they won't be able to use not having resources as an excuse for not walking in their purpose. They had everything they needed from a material or financial standpoint. And so their challenge will be, how do I bless as many people as possible? When money is not a factor, what is still blocking me from living the best life? Because I can't use not having money as an excuse, right? So what is blocking me from living out my best life? And it's usually going to be internal blockers or our own blind spots, right? With this mindset, you don't run from challenges. Instead, you face them head on and even go as far as creating them for yourself, for your growth. So a lot of people say they want a problem-free life. Okay, a problem-free life means a no-growth life. You don't grow at all. Now, may it be enjoyable up to a point, but look, when people retire after they've been working for 40 years and now they're just doing nothing, usually doing nothing is not bring people joy, right? And this is why you see a lot of people go into their second act, not necessarily because they need the money, but because they need meaning, right? Just sitting at home doing nothing is not what actually brings them joy or gives them life. Your mental conditioning, middle paragraph on page 336, your mental conditioning is more important to the manifestations than your external conditions. Your mental conditioning is more important to the manifestations than your external conditions. If that was not the case, nobody poor would ever become rich. No foster youth would ever find love. No disabled body would ever be able to do any good. The same genes in me or anyone else you see as successful are in you. Okay? They just express themselves differently based on our internal conditioning, right? Any deficiency you perceive in yourself or your life means that that is your opportunity for growth and demonstration in this lifetime. And a deficiency in one area is usually balanced by an abundance in another area that you must identify as a strength to help you. I'll give you an example. For instance, blind people, right, deficient in sight, have a heightened sense of hearing because the brain has more capacity to connect with the other senses. Or people in poverty tend to be what? More resourceful and even spiritual and interdependent and creative because of their external condition of poverty. So I need you to really ask yourself, I felt deficient in this area of my life. I wasn't loved by my parents. I didn't have resources growing up. Okay. What did those deficiencies, right, create? What strength did those deficiencies create? What did you do to compensate? What is the other side of the balance you got from not having that? I didn't have love growing up, so I cultivated self-love. I didn't have resources growing up, so I had to become resourceful, right? You have to look at the flip side of the coin, not just the negative side. You get to look at the positive side. What good did that do for me? God doesn't make mistakes, so ask yourself, how can you turn your perceived liabilities into assets? How can you turn your perceived liabilities into assets? I think I read that Richard Branson had ADHD, right, and was dyslexic. So what that did was he had to rely on other people, right? He had to rely on other people, and he had to, when he had ideas, he had to get them out quickly and then empower other people to execute on them, because he was going to keep coming up with more and more ideas. And if you look at the Virgin brand and you look at all of its offshoots, right, that was out of his ADHD mind. But in the education system, they'll tell you that ADHD is bad. No, he found a way to harness it. I'm super creative. I just need other people to support me in executing the ideas, because I'm going to start an idea and I'm good at starting it, but then I might be on to the next one really, really quickly. So I need to establish systems, make them as easy as possible, get that thing running, led by another person, and then I get to move on. So now I'm using my ADHD as a strength as opposed to something negative, right? What has this weakness strengthened? Everybody type that. That's a powerful question. What has this weakness strengthened? What has this weakness strengthened? What does not having this allow me to have? The area of your life where you overcompensated may be exactly what compensates you when you realize that what you thought was missing was only preparing you for your mission. The area of your life where you overcompensated may be exactly what compensates you when you realize that what you thought was missing was only preparing you for your mission. Remember that all things are working together for your good and for God. You cannot manifest from the frequency of lack, unforgiveness, self-doubt, or blame. You need love, forgiveness, faith, and boldness to take 100% responsibility for who you are, where you are, and why. You are the cause, not the effect. Instead of blaming and saying because, we get to be cause. Instead of blaming and saying this happened to me because, we get to be cause. All right. So for those of you who have the rituals workbook, I want you to complete the vibration. You'll see it at the end of the chapter. I want you to create the vibrational mismatch release party. Okay. That is on page the vibrational mismatch release party. That is on page 90. That is on page 90. And these are the people, places, products, programs, and apps and monthly payments that you need to release that are no longer vibrationally aligned with who you are. Okay. And so I want you to list them all out. And then there's to-do list items. And you literally, once you've canceled that subscription, once you've deleted that person's phone number from your phone, right? When you've taken this product or service to product to the Salvation Army, right? Or sold it on Craigslist, right? Then you check it off that it is done. I want you to release anything that is holding you to a lower vibration, right? Some of you need to let go of your TV. Some of you need to delete Instagram from your phone, right? Some of you need to cancel some of your subscriptions. These are holding you down. And so we want to release so that we can be as light as possible and lift up. All right. So with that, we will be back here tomorrow. And we will actually be moving into Money Commandment number 9. Money Commandment number 9, how the rich and righteous attract money and wealth. So I'm excited to get into that. And we will be starting with the section, thou shalt not want. All right. So with that, go ahead and type your greatest takeaway in chat. Go ahead and type your greatest takeaway in chat as I reflect and I continue to reread this book over and over and over again. The one that stood out for me was the question, what has this weakness strengthened? What has this weakness strengthened? And yes, power in the people. Power in the people. As a black belt, I'm at the highest level, not the lowest. Indeed. So the way I created this obstacle course, yes, the way we perceive challenges, right? If we perceive them as being here for our good, it changes the way we approach them. And there's no outside entity or institution that's trying to technically harm us, that we have created this experience in the spiritual realm, forgot when we came through the womb, and now we get to overcome that challenge. You are already the victor. You're not a victim. You are the victor. And if you continue to stand in that identity, you know that you will get on the other side of that challenge, right? You might have been born into lack, right? In order to show how abundant you are. You might have been born into a situation that had no love so that you could actually cultivate self-love. This is completely different perspective in terms of how we perceive life. And I guarantee that if you try it on, it will bless you. All right. So with that, family, be God to yourself. Love yourself as God loves you. Be master over yourself in the way that God is master over you. And remember, just like this chapter talked about, you are God or first cause in your own life. And there's no individual, institution, or situation outside of yourself that has more power over the trajectory of your life than you. I'll see you tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Much love, y'all. Peace.
I, Jullien Gordon, with this mortgage, relinquish part of my freedom to psych. I've been rent-free since I acquired my first multifamily property, a triplex in Brooklyn, New York, in May of 2013. And since then, I now own 16 multifamily properties with 40 doors that generate about $38,000 per month in rents in just 8 years on the side. Do not sign a 30-year mortgage. Get freedom for life when you buy a multifamily property. Did you know that the word mortgage literally means death pledge? The prefix mort is the same as mortician or mortuary. Listen to me. 44 million households rent, and 82 million single-family buyers think that they own, but they don't. HGTV will say, congrats, you're a homeowner. But that's not true, that's a lie. The moment you get the keys, you're a home buyer. And that is a huge difference. As a home buyer, you're still paying rent. It's not rent to a landlord, it's rent to the bank to use their money. That's called interest. You are borrowing the bank's money, right? The interest on a $300,000 home at a 4% interest rate will be about $208,000 over 30 years. So that $300,000 house is actually a $508,000 house. What does that mean? That means that you're not only buying yourself a home, you're also buying a home for your banker. If this is you, I can help you get out of this by acquiring a multifamily property. Whether it is rent or a mortgage payment, most American housing expense takes up about 35% of their income. In times like this, when rents are rising, unemployment is rising, and inflation is rising, but wages are staying stagnant, you absolutely need to be rent and mortgage free. Imagine the freedom of never, ever, 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 ever having a housing expense for the rest of your life. If you want financial freedom, starting with your rent and your mortgage, like I did, then click the link below and register for my free webinar coming up on how to finance, find, and finalize multifamily real estate deals. It is actually not as hard as you may think, but keeping up with rising housing costs are. You need to be the receivers of rent, not the payers. Your time is now. Click the link below.